hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Dork Side of the Ring podcast. I'm your host, your purveyor of all things dorky within the scopes of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. I am Grumm. It is good to see you. Good to have you. Good to be very bright. I've been playing around with these cameras because, as you're going to see, just somebody. Hey, good to see you. Glad to have you. It's episode 88. Episode 88. See, I got to get better at it, but I'll get next week's because I'll do next week's intro and everything tomorrow. But it's a fun episode today. Good episode. We've got BigWheezy. We got Cheesewiz. Some good friends. I butchered trying to combine their name as guests. It just didn't work. It was like right there, but also it just didn't get there. Cheesy and Wheezy, the Big Wiz and the Cheesewiz. But it's a good episode. We're talking about the Jailhouse Match. If you're wondering what the Jailhouse Match is, it's when the Big Boss Man and the Mountie had a feud over whose police force was better. Again, it's just cop on cop violence. It's what it was. It was Canadian versus American. So, but like I said, I feel bad for pitting Canada against another, like basically being like, hey, here's the whole thing is Canada versus somebody. But it's a fun episode today. We talked about Cheese points out exactly just how alike the Mountie and Big Boss Man looked, that they could have been brothers, which was a fun little thing. Wheezy brought in another incredible, just like, I love having Wheezy on because Wheezy tells some incredible like wrestling related stories of like, oh hey, by the way, I forgot when this happened when I was a kid related to wrestling, and it's just very funny. I always talk about, I tell Wheezy that he's like my go-to of like, hey look, like wrestling is not like wrestling fandom. It really is probably wrestling, like loving wrestling gives people avenues to things. Like again, like Wheezy basically discovered a knack for being an engineer because he, as like a kid, was like, oh, let me design like professional wrestling action figures that are controlled remotely. Like what kind of kid does that? But and then shout out Wheezy's parents for doing that. But also shout out Wheezy. Wheezy's doing some stand-up stuff. Cheesewiz has SoonTM.com, the gaming calendar you need in your life. We talk about that a little bit. And just overall, a fun episode because with bringing together like groups of different groups of my friends together and being like, hey, you guys go together. There's an element, and I've talked about, there's an element of being like, all right, hey, like these guys, and these guys, and these guys, and these guys, and all of them are like, you got to figure out like, all right, who's going to blend well with each other, and more importantly, who's going to be fine with like, it's like being at a party, right? And your friends are like, come on, come to the party, come, it'll be a lot of fun. You'll be, this person will be there, and you're like, yeah, but just that person, like, I gotta trust that the other people there, like, I'm cool with, but that's just a matter of like, and my friends have often said like, hey Grumm, like, hey, I trust you, and I'm like, all right, like, your mistake. I'm kidding, but it was a fun episode. I'm glad Cheesy and Wheezy, Cheesewiz and Wheezy. See, that's a problem when you have Cheesewiz, Cheesy, and Wheezy. It's like an evolution of some kind, like Pokemon or something like that. But either way, fun episode today. We talk about the Jailhouse one. I don't have too much to talk about wrestling wise, I guess, like my thoughts on pro wrestling. The draft. Oh yeah, the draft. We did a mock draft. I have to like chop that up a bit and put that on the Dork side. I might try to do that, or I probably won't. What I'll do is I'll work on, I'll work on the other idea that we're working on for that. But it was a lot of fun. Shout out AJ, Baby Boy, JTR, Jim Jam for coming through, being a lot of fun. JTR and AJ were the GMs for Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, and I thought they went a little heavy with the NXT call-ups. They were calling up a lot of people, but also, and then I looked at WWE. They've called up Alba Fire, Isla Dawn, Indy Hartwell, Zoe Stark, Von Wagner, Apollo Crews got called up, so he returned. I think they called like one or two other people up, like, and that's just Friday. Like they're still Monday Night Raw tonight's episode, the other end of the draft. So it's just like, I'm also like moving the desk, as you can see, so that's good. But I'm not moving, but the camera's either way. I'm just getting distracted. Either way, it was a fun. I like that. I like W Draft. I wish, and I understand why there's not, because there's not enough of a, like, it's a niche of a niche of a niche. But I would love for like a 3-hour program where it's just the draft, right? There's no wrestling, there's no storyline. It's just like, hey, these are, especially what they're doing with like, hey, like this is going in effect after Backlash. Okay, going after effect after Backlash. So don't take away time to tell a story when you're doing this. But I do appreciate that, like, they're building it in, especially with the bloodline of like the Usos were separate from Solo and Roman, so they lose, and now you're like, uh-oh, what's gonna happen? And I would like for the whole payoff of that is that Roman uses his sway to get them split up and sends Jimmy, or keeps Jimmy by his side, but sends Jay away. So Jay's got this whole like complex of like, he blames Sammy and Kevin, and meanwhile, Roman is beating up on this. Either way, a lot of stuff. You got Cody on Raw, which makes it feel like Cody is they're throwing in the towel, like, Cody's not going to beat Roman, but like there's still Money in the Bank. I think he always should have like, I think no matter what, he should win the Money in the Bank title, then, or the cash in at SummerSlam and win, and then you have a different scenario of, well, does he belong to SmackDown? Which, if that's the case, there's a story to tell of Cody working his way through Raw, finishing up whatever matchups. But I mean, there's plenty of matchups. I mean, they've done Finn twice. I'm not against it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against it. I do like Lashley being on the same brand as Roman as a potential challenger at, say, King of the Ring, or Night of Clash of Champions. What is it? Night of Champions. In Saudi Arabia, maybe it'd be a good time to have Lashley wrestle Roman. It's almost like, I don't know, somebody called it and said, hey, that'd be interesting to have Roman and Lashley at this kind of not canon but is canon event. Also, just a matter of the fact, like, I feel like a broken record every time I talk to people who are like, oh, like, how can you say that, like, Lashley's over? How can you say that? And it's like, dude, watch the product. Like, you can understand. There might be some canned cheers and whatnot for some talent, but Bobby ain't getting those people love Bobby, man. And sure, his promo work, it's not main event there, but does he need to cut a promo if all he wants to say is, Roman, I'm gonna fight you? And then there's just like, all right, so like the idea that Bobby's promos aren't good, and now this is bothering me. So when you see the break, you'll see a different. This will be fixed. Anyways, the last 4 programs for Bobby, or like main feuds, haven't been much talking. It's mainly just been him going like, I'm gonna fight you. Like Brock Lesnar, come here. I want Brock. Bronson Reed. Like, you think you're out? Let's fight. Like, it's the disconnect, and this is just like always been about with the internet wrestling fans and whatnot, and commentators like myself. I include myself. There's like this, like, oh, like, I know how this should be done, and it's kind of like redundant to do all that, rhetorical, just because it doesn't matter what you or I think they should do or things that should be done. They're going to, WWE specifically and AEW to a point, are going to do what they want to do. I mean, I know I was among a good amount that were like, why is CM Punk challenging Page for the title? Why not have MJF beat Hangman Page at Double or Nothing, so then you have that story? I don't know, maybe that's what you do. Or why is Chris Jericho still feuding with the same guy 7 months after he lost? What are we doing with Ricky Starks? I know, like, Tony Khan, I don't know if this is 100% sure. So it's very irresponsible when you say. But there was either way. The concern is wrestling. AEW acts get momentum behind them, and then they fucking disappear for one reason or the other. Look at the Acclaimed. The Acclaimed were the hottest tag team in the company, and I was somebody who said there's a limit to how far they can go as a tag team in the ring. Outside the ring, absolutely. But in the ring currently, they were not going to hold up to where you wanted your tag team champions to be. If you look at all their tag champions, up until the Guns, the Acclaimed might have been the bottom tier, the bottom of those tag team champions in terms of in-ring quality, which isn't necessarily to say a bad thing, because there's some really good goddamn workers. FTR, Bucks, Lucha Brothers, hell, even Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian were good. Kenny Omega and Paige, great. The idea that like they had to be in-ring workers, not entirely true, but then like it kind of does, because that's what AEW does. Like you put on good bangers of matches, so you got to hide them. And eventually, if you're like, oh well, we have to hide our champions, or we have to hide the flaws of our champion, then maybe they shouldn't be champion. Which is just goes back to the Bobby Lashley thing. Don't have him talk. Also, don't make him your world champion. There's nothing saying he has to beat Roman. It just says, I just would prefer if Roman and Lashley had a match. That'd be a fun match to watch. Two big guys bruising it up. It doesn't have to. It'd basically be akin to their matches individually with Brock Lesnar, except both of these guys are more. What's the word I want to look for? More inclined to wrestle a full match. You know, that's what I'm saying. All that to say, there's things with pro wrestling that are good. There are things that are bad, and there are things that are subjective, up to subjective taste. If that is your case, then you like certain things, that's great. If you don't like certain things, also great. Like, you're not supposed to like everything. If you like everything, do you really like anything? That's, yeah. Either way, I don't know where I was going with this topic. I don't know where I was going. I should have thought a bit of this either way. I kept getting cut off by the camera focusing and everything. But this week's episode 88, the Jailhouse match between Big Boss Man and the Mountie with BigWheezy and Cheesewiz is right here, going on now. Let's get to it here on the Dork Side of the Ring podcast. Now we are though.
I was like, are we jumping into the questions already?
No, not yet. No, I meant for that to be the cold open, everything. So, but I forgot to hit record. But I've hit record since. So people are gonna have to wonder what were they talking about?
It's crazy, dude. As if you did that. Honestly, I never thought you would have.
Look. I was just asking questions. I was wondering what life was about, I'm just asking questions. That's it. Why does everybody want to put the onus on the guy asking the questions? If you just answer the questions, it's, none of this ever happens. I don't know why I'm getting yelled at. But you know what? I will apologize for what was said that was not heard. I will apologize. To those who I've offended, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I've offended you. To those that I'm offending by apologizing, I also apologize.
Wouldn't be Canadian. Canadians do that too much.
No. Well, most Canadians apologize too much.
True.
Yeah. There's been Canadians in history that have not. And I think we're going to talk about one today. It's going to be a lot of fun. Oh yeah, it's going to be fun. But yeah, we're here on the Dork Side of the Ring. We've got BigWheezy, we got Cheesewiz.
Let's go.
Big Cheese and Big Wheeze. Just some good stuff. I love it. It's good to see the two of you. It's good to see
the Cheesewiz.
The Cheesewiz.
Good combo. Love it.
When I put you guys together, I did not realize the name potential of just like, oh, we like Cheese, Wheeze.
It's a team up, man.
It really is.
It's a team up.
So we got Cheesewiz and then Wheeze. Is it Wheeze Sizz? Like Cheese Whiz, Whiz Sizz. Cheese Whiz, Cheese. I don't know.
What?
I'll think it's.
I don't know where you're.
Well, because you combine cheese and Wheeze, right? And then you take the Wiz part of your name, but you put a C in front of it. But then it's just like it doesn't work as much. Like
no, it's Cheesewiz and then the Big Whiz.
And the Big Whiz. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Cheesewiz.
Right?
The Big Whiz. Yeah, that's a much better one. That's a much better one.
Yes, Big Whiz.
I was doing the same. I'm trying to how would I pronounce C-I-Z? What is that? Sizz? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, it's good to have the two of you on. Good to have you.
It's good to be back, man.
It's good to be.
It's my number 3, I think. Number 3, right?
3. Yeah. I had the sheet up earlier, looking at it, so I would be more prepared to when I do the proper introductions. And I'm just killing time so I can look at that once more and be like, oh yeah, we're good. But yeah, this is your third time. And then this is Wheezy's fourth time. Wheezy is
fourth time. Damn, very good.
Wheezy, one shy of the Booker T.
Yeah, which I can't wait to put you and Jim Jam on together, and then the two of you can fight about being who's the fifth. Who's the record holder.
Oh boy,
yeah.
I'm gonna hit the Rooney. I'm ready for
Wizard-Rooney.
I'm taking the Wizard-Rooney.
So as I like to do, I like to have you guys know my guests introduce themselves in their own words. Wheezy, you've been on 4 times, so you should be pretty good at this. It was the Prince episode. You were there for the first half with Roby. We were talking a little bit about that. Then there was we got you back on again for the what was it? Got you for that. Oh, with 3 Count with Suze.
Yes.
Right? And then I got you on before that, right? Wasn't there? Oh, JBL versus Godzilla, episode 31. Yeah. Yeah, with Max. I was sitting there, I'm like, no, those are 2 and 3. Yeah. Wheezy, in your own words, who are you? Where do you do? Who do you do? What do you do? Who are you? All the question words. How are you? All of it.
Yeah, I'm good to see you. Good to be back in the Dork side. I don't really have anything to promote. I just talk about wrestling. Listen to the Dork side. Subscribe, like, do that. You're already
Get
here.
Up that Patreon.
That's right. Yeah, and get in the Patreon. It's a great time. I will promote the Dork side because that's where I show up most of the time. Other than that, I just wrestling observer. You know me. If anybody's been paying attention, you heard of my wrestling capers as a youth, and how many title belts and reigns I have had my own self. So yeah, longtime fan. Great to be back. But yeah, I don't really have anything to promote besides give it to Grumm, keep supporting, do your thing.
I appreciate that. That strokes the ego a good bit. I appreciate that.
You learned from coming on a few times. How to keep coming back.
See, that's why you're on 4th time. This is how.
Yeah, exactly.
Cheese. For those who don't know, including Cheese, Big Wheezy, when he was 7, created the first ever fully remote controlled wrestler.
It was very wild.
In concept, not in practice, but in concept.
I had a concept. I pulled it from the dome. It was pretty cool.
To the point where his dad thought it was the coolest thing ever and said, "Let's go buy it right now." He said,
"Like we talking like a robot or something, like remote controlled,
like you seen like Small Soldiers. Like you could get them. The idea is it's like an action figure, but I would get frustrated. I would like to. I was a little bit more dexterous with the arms, and like I'd have the guys doing here, and a lot of people would just kind of smash them together. I thought that was like your caveman banging 2 rocks together. I'm like, there's an easier way to do this. So I thought, we could, remote control it, and then they do the moves, and you have the action figures right there. And then part of it was that you could take like you do like a chip, and you could go on the computer and download like promos, and then they would literally speak the new promos and stuff, and you can keep them updated.
Cool.
Or like do like new moves and stuff. But it was all stuff I had drawn out as a kid, and it was out on a piece of paper. And then my parents were like, hey, you should probably do like engineering and stuff because better
Smart parents. Smart parents. Not all parents do that.
Yeah, where to push me. But it was very cool, and it's still a very cool thing that I think about sometimes and try and work towards. But
Cool.
Yeah,
smart kid.
Yeah, Wheezy could have been the next Jeff Hardy. He could have been. But the parents said, no, you won't be jumping off of things. You're going to be creating things. You're going to be drawing up blueprints that somebody else would create with their bare hands. Good call. Also, my other favorite story is you guys should go back, and this was on the 3-count episode, I believe. Episode 58, which is Wheezy talking about his college essay about you could create a laser that would basically basically Wheezy was an evil genius because of this.
It sounds like it, man. He's making robots fight and evil lasers. And stuff.
Exactly.
Like, where's his midget? Where's the mini Wheezy?
Little Wheezy.
No. If there's just a laser beam,
yes,
I would.
Yeah. Dr. Wheezy. Dr. Wheezy. But yeah, good times. Go check out Wheezy's previous appearances. It's episode 31, episode 58, and episode, I was just looking at it, episode 54. So a good string there.
Damn, you've been doing this for a while, man. Holy.
And on the other side of the table, Cheesewiz, my buddy, my good friend, my pal, longtime streamer, Twitch partner, the creative genius behind Soon TM, the best gaming calendar in the galaxy.
The galaxy.
The galaxy. I'm not just saying just the world. The galaxy. All right. All the games you could look for when they come out. All the information. That's Cheesewiz. You can previous episodes. Cheesewiz was on episode 20. That was Vince McMahon in the hospital getting bonked with a bedpan.
With Lunk, right?
Yes, with Lunk. And then last, right around Thanksgiving, episode 73, the first ever Feast or Fired match, where Billy Gunn, Kip James had some of the most interesting gear I've ever seen. It was basically long pair of tights, but the knees were missing.
He had like the assless chaps, but the knees were missing, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was so funny.
But I've said what I can in terms of introducing you, reintroducing you. She's in your own words. Who are you? What do you do? Where can you be found? And all that good stuffs.
Hi, I'm the guy that used to have a smaller beard than Grumm, and then I got really jealous, and then we both grew it out, but he trimmed his first, and I still have yet to do that. So I'm just a mountain man living out here in crazy mountain man Canada. I talk about a lot of video games. I've been streaming for about 8 years, and I, like Grumm said, I run a website that helps you keep track of video games and stuff. But now I've been following Grumm and the Dork Side of the Ring for, I think, since the first episode. I think I remember you pitching me that idea, right? Because you needed that new creative outlet, right? You've been streaming, you've been doing, the GTA RP, you've been playing all the Dark Souls, all the everything, but you're like, I need something that I can connect with a little bit more. I want to take a step out of my, out of the ring.
Yeah. That was good.
I had to, man. I'm sorry.
That's good. That's a great pun.
Like, as a non-wrestler guy, I got to do something, right?
Yeah. No, it was good.
No, but you've been killing it, man. Like, just thinking about it now. What episode is this?
This is episode 87.
That's incredible, man.
88.
That's crazy.
88. Love that.
Yeah.
That's like, you've been doing this pretty much as long as you've been streaming, right?
Yeah. So like I did streaming from like 17 really to 2021. 2020. And then got out of streaming regularly and whatnot. So about almost as long. Yeah.
That's crazy, man. I'm really proud of you for doing that, dude. Honestly, like, thanks. You've been killing it. I remember messaging you and you being like, this has really fulfilled that creative itch, that I've been craving. Something that you've been looking forward to. And hell yeah, man. I'm proud of you, dude.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. I got my
cheers. You got
Cheers.
You got it?
Cheers.
There we go. Cheers.
But yeah, Cheesewiz soon TM. Let's see what else. You've got your Twitch. You got your own Twitch channel, Cheesewiz, twitch.tv /Cheesewiz. The home of every wayward space dolphin you could ever find. Yeah, space dolphins.
No.
They're majestic creatures that are part dolphin, part rocket, part imagination. So, yeah.
Part what is it called? Crochet. Part crochet. There we go.
There we go. Look at that.
There it is. I appreciate it though, man. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. Thank you both for coming on. This is a fun one. Cheese, you said you weren't a wrestling fan, and we've had you on a couple times.
I wouldn't say not a wrestling fan, just not a big wrestling guy.
Well,
right?
Yeah. Let's get into that. What is your experience with pro wrestling?
My experience with pro wrestling is mostly through your lens. That's kind of where it comes from. Every time I pop on here, every time we're talking about it, every time that you bring something up, that's about where it goes. I mean, I've known about pro wrestling and stuff for a while. Honestly, like every time I go to the US, it's usually on TV somewhere, right? Or you see like hilarious clips, right? Well, no, every time you go to the US, it's usually college football and like some pro wrestling. You go to the hotel and that's what it is.
Yeah.
I was doing stand-up the other day. This was last week, and they had it on one of the TVs. I got so distracted.
Yeah.
Why is this up? There's just the TV was bigger than the stage. I was like, well, how do I compete with this?
Cheesy's up there. Weezy's up there like, yeah. So, anyways, is that Roman Reigns? Hold on. Hold on. Yes. So, anyways, what is the deal with airline? Oh, that was an incredible Hurricane Rana. So, anyways, women be shopping, right? Like just in the middle of your stand up.
The eyes were carrying over. It was great.
Yeah, no, that's good. You're just like, yeah. Growing up, I was a lot like, damn, Seth Rollins got it on. Like, it's like everything. You're like, okay, cool, yeah.
So my experience with pro wrestling is not super high, but I mean, I love listening to people who are really excited about or enjoy whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. When you catch someone that's really into sports or like their hobby or whatever it is, right? And they just love it and they could talk about it forever. That's like one of the best things you can experience. And that's why I like being here too. That's what it's all about.
The joy of pro wrestling. And nobody I know the spectacle of it all. And there is one spectacle that I wish to cover, but it requires a time machine, and it requires going to old BigWheezy as a child, his family reunions, because BigWheezy is one of two reigning champions to be on the Dork side of the ring. Longest reigning champion, might I add. BigWheezy, a 3-time backyard wrestling champion, the current Wheezy family world champion. Wheezy, can't deny. What is your experience with pro wrestling other than just that?
I know. 1 second, I got something special for you.
No. See,
he's got a surprise.
If he walks out with an entire attire change, that's it. I'm ending this. This is the last episode.
Is he getting dressed up? Is he putting in a suit?
I mean, I got my title over there. I got my world title over there. Okay, but if he brings out, if he does a whole
Grumm, I might have brought the old Wheezy family title belt out.
And he put it in front. That is, that's
awesome.
That's beautiful.
This is what we were. This is what we were going at it for. The old undisputed title here. Can't deny it.
That's beautiful.
It was a little larger when I was younger.
Look,
you grew into it.
Yeah.
You grew into it.
Yeah, they say the man, the belt makes the man, or the man makes the belt. This is a case of the man making the belt. Like, he's making it look smaller. That's how big Wheezy is.
There it is.
I was a little Wheezy.
They don't call him average Wheezy. They call him Big Wheezy. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. Yes, as you know, the backyard champion. These guys can't deny it. One time I had the big gold too. It was ridiculous. But we'll just settle for the undisputed for now. But yeah, my family experience. It was wild. It was Wild West growing up. We would go and watch wrestling. My youngest experience was watching wrestling when my grandma would watch me. She'd babysit me and put it on. Easiest stuff. Literally, if I have to recall a memory of being a child and you have like the TV on in those memories, I've got wrestling on in the background. And so yeah, that was really, from an early age, it was just watching that. I had all the figures and doing all sorts of stuff, and that led to obviously my career choice and stuff like that. But it's really been kind of intertwined with my whole life. So, it's pretty cool, and it's really nice kind of getting back into it, as I grew up, and you shift around, and now I'm getting back into it, and it's great. It was crazy. I thought, honestly, this year's I know we're going to get into it, but this year's WrestleMania, I literally like sitting on my phone, and I was like, oh yeah, it's on. And I found a stream, and I just like sat there for and just watched the whole thing. And I'm like, wait a minute, what happened the whole day? Because I was just enthralled.
Should have joined us in the Cord. We were watching both nights.
I honestly, I just like totally blanked, and then I just because I was so busy with like everything going on, and then I saw it. I'm just gonna sit and just watch the whole thing. Couldn't believe it.
Nah, good time.
But yeah, so that's really my wrestling experience. It's great. I mean, I know it's a lot more than other people. I mean, I don't think a lot of people were wrestling their uncles or dads or I was coming in
maybe not professionally, but there's lots of wrestling still happening.
I wasn't. I'd come home from school and I'd have a chair just ready for my dad to defend the.
When you least expected it,
that's great.
That's right. But yeah, so that's really my background, and it's very fun to recount because, my goodness, what a fun time.
It's so much fun. I love the way you described, like, you're like, yeah, no, there's my earliest memory as a child, there's wrestling in the background. Like, it is, like, I love that your grandma was like, yeah, no, throw on wrestling. That'll keep him preoccupied. Like, he won't be in my hair. Like,
Yeah.
I'll enjoy some of it too. I'll start yelling, but like.
Oh, she was funny. We would have, she would throw it on, and then, because I could only watch the SmackDowns because I had a bedtime, she would be like, call me up on Tuesdays. Every Tuesday I'd call her, and she'd give me what happened on Raw, so that on Fridays when I watched, I was caught up, and I was like, oh, okay, this is what's happening over here. That's what's happening over here. And then we'd watch the pay-per-views together. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. And like, getting to, think about it and stuff. Damn. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all good.
I'm sorry. But yeah, it's really cool. And it's just intertwined with just like growing up, and it really reminds me of all that stuff. And I don't know. I'm rambling now. We'll move on.
That's good. No, that's why we're here, right?
Look,
that's good.
Me, if there's one thing I love to do, it's to ramble. And if there's one thing I know Cheese loves to do, it's to also ramble. We're just rambling men.
I mean, it's like I said before, you love hearing about people talk about something they're passionate about. There's something they really enjoy, right?
Yeah.
It's like, perfect. That's why we make a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is. It's just like, hey, what were you doing while we were watching this? I went back. Did I tell you I was looking on the on Peacock? I was looking through old episodes, and my friends growing up, they lived across the street. They were twins, and we would go. We'd like watch wrestling. I remember getting yelled at by their parents because I was flipping them over the freaking bedpost, and they were like, "What are you doing?" Great times, but they got tickets to go to the. They had the Raw or something. I think it was SmackDown. They were coming to the city, and their dad and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, they're going to the show. Like, you should like help us like make signs." And like DX was coming, and Jeff Hardy was coming, and it was like prime Jeff Hardy, like 08, like run Jeff Hardy. I was like, And so they were like, yeah, help us make a sign. So I was like helping them make signs. And then I went home and their dad like came over and like knocked on the door and he's just like, hey, we're going to go to the show, but we got you an extra ticket. Like, you want to go? It was actually the first time that I actually got to go to the show. Like I'd never been to like a live event.
That's
so
sweet.
Go to. And I was thinking back like, oh, they have all the old shows on Peacock. And I went back to the day to the Orlando show and I made it was they had the tag belts and we made a big X for like with them. It was on a big sign. I was like, there we are. We're in the freaking crowd. They got a crowd shot for TV.
That's so cool.
But it was really cool to like reflect on and like rewatch that. Cause I'm like, I literally got the Jeff Hardy armbands and and I still have I got the Team Extreme jersey, dude. I could have done a whole outfit change. Cause I have how they have the purple, like heart. I have one of those. And then I have the armbands and the necklace. I was the greatest time.
That's so cool. No, that's the one thing. Like when I went as like younger, I always was like, oh man, we're in like camera zone. Like we might go. And obviously, anytime I went, I would tell people like, hey, if you see us, like let us know. That's so cool to be like, oh, let me go back and watch this like cool. This core memory. Holy shit, that's us. Like I know that is so cool.
Oh yeah, it was great.
I also love that their dad. Oh wait, do we?
My dad. Sorry.
It's okay. It's just also just really cool that like you almost like their dad had hey man, we're gonna make him. He's gonna make these signs and then be like, hey, like since you made some of these, here you go. But then you left before he could do it. He's like, shit. Oh.
Right here, I can hear you.
It's okay. Okay, I wasn't sure. But then he's just like, this kid, I ruined my goddamn plan. I was going to give him a ticket and everything, and it was going to be great. Well, let me just give him the ticket anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, he was, that was really cool. And like I said, I had no idea. So we got to go, got the whole thing. I cosplayed as Jeff Hardy. It was great. It was a good time. Got the cool like DVD box set because they were doing all those all the time.
Cool. Yeah.
Those were so cool to get. Like just getting anything really from an event was just the best feeling of all. Because you're like, yes, I'm gonna remember this forever. I got a Goldberg T-shirt in 2004. I wasn't Goldberg was just kind of cool to me in 2004, but like I remember buying a Goldberg T-shirt because I got it at the Royal Rumble, like and to me that's like awesome. And obviously I outgrew it and eventually gave it away, and I'm like, I should have held on to that. Like that should have just been like this is a forever keepsake.
When I was really small. So this is like, again, like 03, 04. I was rolling around, and as a kid, I would just have like a sleep shirt. So it's just a big oversize. It was like I probably, as a kid, I'd wear this shirt as a sleep shirt. It was just an adult large T-shirt, because you're like barely 3 feet tall, it's a giant shirt. And my dad had gotten me like just old, like Attitude Era shirts. And thinking back, it was very ridiculous because the shirts I was running around in, like it was a good thing I didn't go to like the store or anything. These were like pajama shirts, but the shirt was like the APA Bar and Grill, and it literally said "Always Pounding Ass," and I was just 4 years old with a shirt "Always Pound Ass." And
I knew exactly which shirt you were talking about too. I was like,
oh yeah.
See, when I was 4, I was running around in a little Batman suit with like a cowl as a cape on, so
almost the same
a little
thing.
Different.
A little very same. Instead of being Batman, Wheezy was being Farouk or Bradshaw.
He pounded us.
And then the other one.
Oh no!
It was the Undertaker's Big Evil shirt from WrestleMania 20. And then the other one was it was The Rock, and it was Lay the Smack Down, and then the back had the bull, and it said "On Your Candy Ass," and I thought it was so cool because I'm like, yeah, your candy ass. But I'm like, fuck. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, no. obviously like the attitude and like even into the early 2000s, like wrestling t-shirts were unhinged. Like you're going to get a t-shirt that has a curse word on it. It's going to have a sexual innuendo on it. Like DX had a shirt in 2006 and it was like everybody loves it, like, and then it's a rooster, obviously, to be like cock.
Vince loves cock.
Yeah, Vince loves cock. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, if you don't know wrestling and you're like,
how are you gonna?
Yeah, no, you're just not.
No.
And like wrestling t-shirts, I like wrestling t-shirts that like don't look like a wrestling t-shirt or are somebody who are very cool. Like you have Austin 316. That is a cool, like everybody loves Stone Cold. I'm wearing a t-shirt where Powerhouse Hobbs is shirtless in a overall, a graffiti art overall and a fur coat, and it looked like a mixtape cover. Where you're like, I don't know what that is, but okay, like, it's a wrestler, like he's a pro wrestler, and like, oh, that's a cool shirt, like a cool wrestling shirt. So, but yeah, I appreciate the stories. Like she said, just hearing people recant stories of joy, and like just memories, and especially around pro wrestling, because to me, I was talking about this the other day. Pro wrestling is joy. Like it is just, you sit there, you watch it. Like if you get it, it's so much fun. And if you don't get it, it can still be fun because you're like, okay, I know all of this is like predetermined, scripted, yada, yada, yada. But how'd they do that? How did they do that and not die? Or like,
well, when I tell, my fiance, she's like, how do you like watch this? Like, how is this a thing? And I said, look, it's like if you go to like Cirque du Soleil, like there's acrobatic elements to it. And like, there's, they're falling, but like the idea is that they're not, actually like hurting themselves, to a degree, but like, you're like selling this and it's like a show and they're, but there's still like athletic ability to it. And like I said, the only thing I could really think of was like Cirque du Soleil or some like sort of like acrobatic type thing, because they're doing these like gymnastics type, like if you watch like Luchador, or like if you watch like, because I really would enjoy like throwing on just like Rey Mysterio matches, because I'm just like, how do you do this? But it's all just like watching someone do, like it's like watching a gymnast just be like, and they're like, working off each other so well, and it's interesting to see how that, like, as far as like in ring stuff, it's interesting to see how they like play off each other. But it's, I don't know, that's the best analogy for her. I mean, she's not so on it, but maybe it's everything.
Yeah, I like to tell people who are like, how can you watch wrestling? Like, oh, like it's not real. And it's like, there's a lot of shit that's not real. But to your point, if you go in not going like, oh, this is a sport, but you go in like, oh, this is a movie. This is an action movie. This is a show. I always say, this is one of, like, I borrow it from a wrestler, but wrestling is the last like form of Shakespearean theater telling, because you have everybody including the crowd is in on it, right? Where you're like, okay, this is all part of a show. But you have the performers on the ground level, where normal play, Broadway now has the actors and the performers on like this pedestal almost, where like they're higher up. You may still be able to look down on them, but at least with like pro wrestling, everybody is eye level at worst. With the wrestlers, you get to see them, you get to see the emotions. They tell the story not just through what they're saying, but what they're doing, how they're performing. Like, guy gets takes a bad fall onto his arm. He doesn't just keep acting as if he didn't just take a bad fall on his arm. Like, he's like, that fucking hurt. Like, and there's your story. And again, the crowd is in on it. The crowd is a part of it at aspects, which is a good thing and sometimes not a good thing. But like, it's very hard to, like, you have to actively want to not enjoy it, to not find the fun in pro wrestling.
Oh yeah.
Which like Cheese is not the biggest wrestling historian, has probably watched with his own eyes a handful of things, including Vince McMahon in a hospital, and then which again, like when you watch that, you're like, how can you not enjoy this? It's funny, there's a clown. He's like scared he's gonna get his ass whooped, and then Stone Cold goes, your charts, bang, and it starts beating the hell out of him. So it's like, yeah, this is great. I love pro wrestling, and then hearing other people like tell their stories. Like Wheezy, it might have some of my favorite stories ever told on the Dork side of the ring, because it's just like vivid memories almost. Like I'm almost there with you.
Oh yeah, it's a great time. I'll tell you, just now that you mention it, I'm thinking of all the crazy things. Did you ever get? I don't know how old were you in the like mid 2000s?
10. Like I was like double digits, early double digits.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted the regular WWE magazine,
mm-hmm.
but I was not old enough for the mature content that would be strewn across the pages.
But you could wear those T-shirts.
Could wear the T-shirts. Cannot look at pictures of the scantily clad women. Yeah, no.
Yes, it was the women. Yeah,
I know exactly why.
But so my grandmother, she's very supportive. She got me WWE Kids magazine. And they had all sorts of cool stuff. Well, they had like an arts and crafts like thing. So they showed you how to make like armbands like Jeff Hardy with just like stuff from the crafts. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Had no idea. Didn't do that one. We got the real one, not a poser. But I'm a real fan. No.
I give money to this machine, damn it. I spend my hard-working dollars to get these mass-produced cheap product. Thank you very much.
That's it. But one of my favorite ones, and it was literally like, they were like, hey, if you've got old curtains hanging around, I'm like, what? You can make a Ric Flair robe, and all you got to do is get a boa from like a craft store and then old curtains, and they go over how to like make it. And I literally made this freaking little kid's Ric Flair freaking robe out of old drapes from like ridiculous thing ever. But I mean, like, I had the belt, so I mean, I had to have the robe.
Yeah.
I mean, what's going on here?
No.
That's awesome.
The commitment. That's why you're the champ, still to this day. Untested. Cannot be beaten. Unbeaten.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's just great. Cheese, I have because Wheezy's got a bunch of wrestling stories, as you can tell. You though. You have many. You have told us on multiple appearances now of a time where you're like, yeah, no, I felt like I'm a pro wrestler and went to the did this, or somebody around. Do you have any? Like you told me about the skateboarding incident.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we bonded over the fact of like, oh yeah, like that kind of happened to me. But have you like, is there anything else that like comes to mind where like, oh yeah, like. Pro wrestling. If I knew how to fall properly, or if I knew how to tell somebody how to fall properly, maybe that situation would have went a little different.
About falling specifically, I mean, when it comes to like pro wrestling, I have a lot of respect for it. I think like I was definitely that person was like, I don't understand pro wrestling. How is this entertaining? And I had that perspective younger because I was coming at it like it was this sport, like the Olympics. It's like, okay, like this is not the Olympics, so this is not real or whatever. But as soon as I started to work as a streamer, as a content creator, as an entertainer, essentially, it was like, oh, I get it, right? Once you start to link it to like them putting on a show, like you said, like Shakespearean kind of show, right? Like that makes a lot of sense. Same with the Cirque du Soleil, like, right? With the acrobatics, with the actual physical elements of it too. It was like, oh, okay. So like, I kind of embody that a little bit. For example, Grumm and I have gone to a few TwitchCons before, right? And what do I like to wear during those TwitchCons? What do I usually got on?
You make sure you got a onesie.
I'm always running around the whole place in a giant purple onesie, right? So that's like my costume, right? And I'm running around. I got a banana in my like pocket or something like that, and it's saying hi to people and lots of like, physicality, not actually wrestling people, right? some awkward nerds running around.
She's going around
like
stiff lariats to people running clothesline from hell's like, yeah.
Break it down.
But I understand that spirit a lot more,
Yeah.
right? Just running around, being a little bit of a dork, being a little bit of like a doofus in like a costume, embodying that like energy as well. Especially when at like a TwitchCon, people come up to me and it's kind of crazy, but like, oh, you're Cheesewiz or whatever, right? And it's something like super abnormal, but you kind of have to embody it. You're like, yeah, and then you bring that personality from the stream on, you bring that energy in, right? Like I understand that. It's definitely not the same thing as like obviously pro wrestling, but there's like those elements that allow me to kind of see their perspective, appreciate what they do, appreciate what they put on, appreciate their work and their effort and their spectacle, like I was saying before. And for me, that's always like that's definitely what's clicked for sure when it comes to pro wrestling. And why I'm able to just like look at it and especially the family stuff too. Like you were saying, Wheezy, like that stuff for me is like video games. I'm a pro streamer. I'm a professional streamer. Video games have been part of my life forever with my brother, my dad. I remember my dad playing like, Duke Nukem, and he'd only allow us to watch it for like 15 minutes, but there's the blood and the gore, it's like, it's kick ass and chew bubble gum and stuff, right? But so hearing your stories specifically with, the wrestling stuff and, like having the chair and, like getting the belt and stuff, that was like, all right, like that, the family element of it too, enjoying that with your family, growing up with those memories, or, getting back into it. Like you said, I don't know the whole story, but getting back into it now and being able to go back and actually see yourself at like in the stands, like as a fan and stuff. That's so cool. That's so sweet. Again, it allows me to have that appreciation for it. So I definitely was that person that was like, like wrestling. It's like, it's not the Olympics, so like I don't really understand it. To now, like, oh man, completely. In fact, I take inspiration from it, from what I do, right? Which is really cool.
Yeah, and like it's even because we've talked about like the similarities between like content creators and like pro wrestlers, in that you got to be kind of on even when you're not. Like there's the difference between Cheesewiz, the person you see on screen, and Cheesewiz off stream. There's a noticeable difference, but you don't get to be Cheesewiz off stream around a lot of people just because you're like, oh man, they know me as Cheesewiz and whatnot. But like something I didn't think about like talking about, but until just now, like talking about like Wheezy's experience. Like I know for a fact that you have met like people who are like, yeah, like my kid loves you. Like I love like my anytime you're like, I'll put you on the TV and they'll make the noises. They love it, and it's just like the family like the viewing experience, right? I that was something that I had not given thought to till like right now, and like in this conversation of like there's an element to where like as a viewer, you have these parasocial relationships with pro wrestlers where Wheezy's like, nah, Jeff Hardy's my guy, like that's my guy, and
totally,
and if BigWheezy has a little Wheezy of his own, and he's gonna be like, that's my guy, like that was he's my, the way you feel about Roman Reigns Jr., that's the way I feel about Jeff Hardy. Like you can't tell me that guy did, and like to an extent, like that's also there with content creation, where there are people who obviously content creation, streamers, YouTubers is a much younger like industry, right? Where you're not getting people like, oh, like my dad watched you growing up, like
oh god, that's gonna make me feel so old. Oh
but
my
also
god.
At the same time, like like, geez, you've been doing this since what, 2015, 14 or 15?
Yeah, 15 now.
Oh,
So
wow.
8 years?
It's been 8 years. 8 years next month, yeah.
Like there is probably a child who saw you 6 years ago, You know, they were in middle school or something like that, and they're about to go into college now, you know, and you're just like,
God.
Yeah, no, you're welcome for that. I've just made you feel old. I've made plenty of other people feel old because I'm sure they're watching this because they're like, yeah, Cheesewiz and Grumm, I like those guys.
Oh,
and they're like, fuck, I've been streaming for 8 years too. God damn it. Like, but it's just like a wild thing to think about. Like,
It is, yeah.
You know, there are people who are like, man, like, that was my favorite streamer growing up. You know, like that's a possibility that is going to happen within the next 5 years. Like, given how long content creation has been, like even if you're just like, oh, like, you know, the term streamer per se hasn't been around as long, but like, you know, how can you not go like, oh, like, you know, Markiplier. I love Markiplier. I watched him when I was in high school or something like that. You know, it's like, oh, cool. Now I have a kid going into grade school who is watching their videos. You know. And it's just a very similar, like, again, wrestling has a very similar thing where, like, there will be content creators who meet people at these meet and greets who are like, hey, I met you when I was 6. I'm 14 now. You know, like, you know, my dad brought me to a meet and greet.
Oh no!
And now you're one of my. It's like, dude, like it's really cool to think about. Also, very scary to think about, just because it's like.
It is awesome though.
You know, like, but it is, yeah.
like
to what Wheezy was saying, like if you can create those moments, if you have those moments associated with something, that's one of the best things you can have, right? Like just hearing Wheezy talk about it, it was like the joy, the excitement behind it, the core memories associated with it. So it's like, oh yeah, you can totally have that with content creation or this thing or that thing or pro wrestling or whatever it is, whatever you're connected to, right? So
Absolutely.
no, that is really awesome. And now content creators, what are they doing? They're
Getting
fighting each other. Yeah, they're getting in the ring. Right, the Creator Clash 2 was like last weekend or something, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. Come full circle.
Didn't John Morrison just box a creator?
Yeah, he boxed the Epic Mealtime guy.
Yeah.
Like
that was.
It was wild. Like it's just wild to think about. Like, and then you have actually like Logan Paul wrestled at WrestleMania. He had KSI accompanying him down to the ring in a giant Prime juice, bottle costume. Where you're like, dog, this doesn't make sense. And it was very funny watching the people who don't know who KSI is at all,
right, be
explained by their 13-year-old nephew, niece, kid. We're like, oh my god, it's KSI. And it's like, who is that? I don't understand who that is.
Well, there you go. It's the branching, what is it? Different, age groups. The
bridging the gap.
Bridging the gap.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
That's, yeah. But yeah, and then you got Creator Clash. I mean, we were talking about that over 2021. We were talking about are they gonna fake drama? They'll fake drama for engagement. The next step has to be actually faking drama for a match when it. Somebody was listening. All right, I don't know who was listening, but I want my cut. I want my cut. I want Cheese to get his cut because we were talking about we got to bring me my money. Bring me my money. And then when WWE makes an Air Buds movie about becoming pro wrestlers, I want my money too. All right. It's just good stuff. Well, I think today I have a great topic today, a very memorable topic in the annals of history. But it's an interesting one because it pits again. Last week I did Canada versus Texas. This year it's Canada versus Georgia, but with a twist. See, Canada has very specific authority figures who ride mooses, I've been told. I've never seen them.
I don't know who you're talking about there, but
I've never seen them. I've never seen the Royal Mounted Canadian Police. Where is it? Royal Canadian Mounted Police. It's Royal Canadian Mounted RC.
Mounties.
Yeah, the Mounties, if you will. Which I have talked about the Quebecers who were not the Mounties.
Quebecois.
The Quebecois. But now, I absolutely butchered that. I've been to Montreal, never, but I've been to the French part of Ottawa twice. So
the French
part of Ottawa, yeah.
They love Grumm.
Yeah, I started speaking plain American English, and they were like, "This one doesn't belong." I'm like, beard, red. See, look.
That's funny. I'm in Quebec right now. Je suis en Québec ici maintenant.
But my question about pertains to that is: have you ever seen a Royal Canadian Mounted Police Patrol man, a Mountie, for lack of a better term? Wheezy, we'll start with you. Have you ever seen a Mountie in real life?
No.
Okay, neither have I. I've been told they're real, but I'm gonna go to the expert. All right, because people try to tell me that
you've been told.
I've been told that mounted police exist the Mounties exist in Canada, but I've also been told that moose don't exist in Canada, which I don't believe. I've seen moose. I've seen a moose. He was smoking a cigarette on the side of the road looking for a ride. I saw it with my own eyes. You can't tell me it was that, or just I was at the tail end of a 9-hour drive. Cheese, have you ever seen a Mountie?
Yes, I've. Well, okay, so there's like the classic Mountie.
Yes.
It's got the hat and the red coat and riding a horse and stuff. Those exist, but those are mostly for show. I grew up in Ottawa, so that's the capital of Canada. So yes, there is, Remembrance Day. There is plenty of parades and stuff, and they get those Mounties out on the horses and be walking around. But really, RCMP are just like kind of like undercover cops a lot of time. I don't know for sure. I had an uncle that was in the RCMP. My brother thought about getting into it, so I'm no expert. But a lot of the time, they're not actually dressed up like the classic Mountie and that what, right? That's more just kind of the show of it, for sure.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I thought Mounties rode a moose.
Yeah, that's why I'm
I'm
looking at you kind of funny, Cheese, because you said they were on a horse, which last I've checked, a horse is not a moose.
That's not a.
Now,
like it's got 4 legs. It poops on the sidewalk.
Okay, you're all right. I'm starting to.
Right?
Okay, maybe
It's a big animal. If you hit it, while you're driving, you're probably dead. That's actually a true fact.
Somebody else, not me, though.
The most dangerous thing for Canadian drivers. Like, actually, genuinely, if you hit a moose, it's so tall and so big and so heavy that what happens is usually when you hit a deer, you usually hit the body. Front of your truck hits the body. It might bend and stuff. What happens with a moose is you take out its legs, and the moose falls right on your windshield and crushes you. So I don't know the statistic, but I'm pretty sure that moose are the #1 cause of death by any animal for Canadians. When driving, at least. Because they're really, really, really dangerous. I mean, they're not everywhere. They have their own territory, right? They have their own collection. We've kind of, we work together as a system up here in Canada, right?
You have a moose holding a gun off camera to the side here. Are you being held up by Big Moose?
No, I didn't tell them anything. No, I'll clean up your poop later. It's fine. Sorry, what?
He's just sitting. I'm just imagining a 2 hooves just holding the gun, like not even like just 2, just like. Ugh. He's like, well, look, they have their own territory. We've, look, they're kind enough to let us have our territory. That's really how we spin it.
Yeah, this is a republic of the moose. We just kind of exist within their domain,
Reminds me of the Australian emu war. The Australians lost.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah, they've lost. Lost to giant flightless birds. Canadians were like, "All right, man. If the criminals from the homeland can't beat the birds, we're not beating these fucking moose. So let's just let them go where they want to go, and we'll fit. That's why Canada hasn't populated the Yukon. It's not because it's mountainous." Cold as shit. No, that's where the moose are.
Yeah,
we don't go there.
No,
it's like the Lion King. Like, what's that over there, Dad? That is No, that's where the moose are. But yeah, it's funny. I knew Cheese would at least confirm that the Mounties are a thing, which is good because the only other Mountie I know is the wrestling Mountie. Now, I've talked about the Quebecers before. The Quebecers came in like the mid 90s as a tag team dressed like Mounties. Their theme song were that we're not the Mounties because the actual Canadian mounted police got upset about the Mountie as a wrestler. So they were like, well, we're not Mounties, we're Quebecers. But we look like Mounties, but we're Quebecers.
Really? They got upset about
they
that?
Did. They were very upset.
Weird.
Well, because
Canadians don't usually, that's strange.
You'd think that. Well, it does have something to do with the fact that when they debuted the Mountie, he was a bad guy. And he was the evil. He's evil. He's a bad guy. You know, I'm a Mountie. Which, you know, American television, if you weren't American and you were proudly from anywhere but America, you were a bad guy. So it tracks that, you know, Canada was like, hey, can you not make our our Royal Mounted Police Force, like, can you not make them bad guys? Like, portray them as bad guys? Thanks. And it all culminated in 1991. The biggest match of the Mounties' then career, 1991 at Summerslam. He faced off in a Jailhouse Match against America's own, Cobb County, Georgia's own, the Big Boss Man.
Boss.
That's right. Weezy knew who it was. He's like, oh, Cobb County? I know who that is. That's right.
I know exactly who.
They the gist of the match, the entire feud was whose police force is better, America or Canada? The loser would have to spend a night in the other country's jail. So if the Big Boss Man were to lose, he'd have to spend a night in Canadian jail. If the Mountie lost, he'd have to spend a night in American jail. So
that sounds like a raid, but okay.
A little bit, yeah. Like,
yeah, that doesn't sound fair.
No, you're just like, oh man, like I gotta go to jail if I lose. Like, what did I do? Which, if you think about it, wrestling just being sanctioned assault and battery, you know, it makes sense that like, hey, this match we're going to restrict that protection. Like, if you lose, you better win. But yeah, so the loser will have to go and spend a night in the winner's country jail. This happened in New York City. It is the Big Boss Man versus the Mountie. Cheesewiz, are you riding with the home country? Are you saying the Mountie's going to win? Or do you think the Big Boss Man wins?
Oh, he's in New York. Of course, you know, Canadians got no shot.
Okay, all right.
No home turf, no way.
I feel bad because last week I did Texas versus Canada with Dustin Rhodes versus Bobby Roode in a Prince of Darkness match. I feel bad picking on we're just picking country, you know, America versus Canada. Next week, who knows what I'll pick? I do know what I'm going to pick, but it has nothing to do. Maybe we'll take a break from picking on Canada. I love you, Canada.
Picking on Canada. There's only 50 of us here, man. Come on, give us a break.
Hey, look, if you want to make it 51, 52, me and my girlfriend, we'll move.
You can do Kane versus the Un-American.
Yeah. yeah, the Un-Americans. There were 3 of them were for Canada. One was from the United Kingdom versus Kane, who is a demonic fireman, and his brother, the Undertaker, who is not at the time, he was an American chewing tobacco Texan, who once was an undead mortician. Wheezy, who do you got, Big Boss Man or the Mountie?
You know I got to rock with Cobb County's finest. I mean, come on. Is that a question for me?
This man is riding with the man who would steal a casket off of a funeral. I'm disgusted. I am disgusted. So we're going to watch that. We'll be back here on the Dork Side of the Ring after we watch this from SummerSlam 1991. The Big Boss Man taking on the Mountie. Loser has to spend a night in the winner's jail. We'll be back here on the Dork Side of the Ring podcast. Hey everybody, taking a moment out of this week's episode to tell you a little bit about your support or ways you can support us. You can continue to support us for free if you're currently doing it. I appreciate that. Support.grumm.tv is the Patreon, but before we get to that, the Twitter, Instagram, at DorksideRing, all one word, those three, no of the, just Dorkside Ring, Twitter, Instagram. Follow me at I am Grumm. You can also leave a like and a subscribe on this video. Like on this video, subscribe to the channel Dork Side of the Ring on YouTube, TikTok, as well as Dork Side of the Ring. You can also leave a 5-star review on any podcasting platform that you like to use, be it Apple or Spotify. I think those are the only ones that have a 5-star review, but either way. And if you would like to continue to support, increase your support, I should say, support.grumm.tv, that's a Patreon. You can get your episodes early. You can get some exclusive watch-alongs like episode 68 going up this week. It is the Good Housekeeping match between China and Jeff Jarrett for the Intercontinental Championship at Unforgiven 99. That's got Cornman and Diabito. Diabito's on next week's episode. We'll talk about that at the end of this week's episode. All that and more on the Patreon, support.grumm.tv. I appreciate you supporting me, and let me get you back to this week's episode. That was the Jailhouse Match. Big Boss Man, the Mountie, Summerslam 91, BigWheezy, Cheesewiz, myself, we're back.
Wow.
Wheezy, you want to start us off here?
Want to know on the picks? Here? Love that. Love to see that. My goodness, what a time. The Boss Man, very powerful, quality stuff. I know, you think you know what you'd expect, but that was something special. That was very fun. Just the theatrics from the mouth of the South. He was just enraged that they could do this to his boy.
Upset, bewildered, frustrated,
uncontrollable.
He was so ready to win and be like, yeah, we won, but not the case. Not the case. Cheese. What are your thoughts coming out of the Jailhouse Match?
My Canadian brother, he may be a lot older than me, but, he put up a pretty good fight, He didn't quite have as much hair, right? Like, if I was in the ring, maybe I would have had a little bit more,
yeah.
But, dude, they were totally brothers.
Yeah, Cheese,
they so were brothers. Like,
Cheese had the like. This is why
I love. Trying to fool you. They were trying to fool you, though. It the American cop. He the big man. He's got a little bit of facial hair, and the Canadian he doesn't. They're pulling the they're pulling the Superman. He's got glasses. He's not the same guy, dude. They were totally brothers. They were the same height. They were probably like the same weight. They had like the same haircut and everything. They totally were brothers.
Yeah, I loved. So this is why I love having people who aren't like when I said Big Boss Man and Mountie, Wheezy knew who I was talking about. Wheezy knew, may not have seen this match, may not know the whole, but knows those two characters. Knows they're not brothers. Cheese sees these two people and goes, wait a second, they look kind of familiar. They got the kind of they could be brothers. They could be brothers. Hey, they're wearing the same pants. They literally were wearing the same.
They were the same pants, yeah.
The same pants.
So I loved it. I want to go back in time and I want to rewrite this story. And I want them to be brothers. I want the Mountie to be a long-lost brother who also went into law enforcement, like the Big Boss Man, not knowing that that's what his brother was doing. They were kept secret from each other. Make it a blood feud. Make a jailhouse match, like in jail, like a prison yard where they both go to jail.
Like imagine at the end, after all the clips that we saw.
Yeah.
Suddenly, Big Man, it is revealed to Big Man that, the Mountie is his brother. And then he actually goes to the jail and, the Mountie's like yelling at him and stuff. And then the Big Man like opens it and he's like, what? And he gives him a hug. He's like, you're my brother. Like, it would be like, whoa, like kind of moment, right? Like, that's the kind of stuff. Oh, man, that'd be sick. But yeah, they were totally brothers.
This would be good.
This is theory crafting on Dork Side of the Ring.
Yeah.
This is a theory crafting episode. We're diving into lore.
Yeah. What if? You know what? Let me write this down. This would be a good TikTok of like, what if? What if?
They can have a whole police unit.
Yeah, right. You can have the Big Boss Man and the Mountie. They team up. They become the feds, or just give them like NATO. Call them NATO or something like that. I don't know what you want to call it. Like
They go around and steal Big Show's dad's casket.
So Cheese, and for those who who don't know, the Big Boss Man, like he leaves WWE, comes back in like the mid 90s, and they kind of like make his character a more extreme version of what he is. So they swap out him being like a police officer looking guy, prison guard, to being like a tactical SWAT team guy. He's dressed in black. He's got tack vest and all this stuff. Still has the nightstick. He's still got the nightstick.
Oh yeah, can't put down the nightstick.
No, not when you're swinging it like that. He's too good. He's too good at handling it. But they made him, because it was the 90s and everything sensational, and they were like, we need somebody who is just a vile human being. Let's make it be the Big Boss Man. Let's have him feed somebody their dog. Yes, he kidnaps a dog.
What?
He kidnaps a dog. I've talked about this. I've talked about both these two things I'm going to tell you. He kidnaps Al Snow's dog and feeds him. Al Snow feeds him his dog. He goes.
Yes. I like my timeline better, man. I like.
Well, here's the thing.
I like mine more.
I'm saying, maybe if he had his brother there, he wouldn't be doing these things. You know, like maybe he wouldn't.
Man.
He kidnapped the dog, fed it to him, and then lost a kennel from hell. Literally, they had a match where there was a steel cage around the ring, and the cage, like this big cell, was surrounding the ring, and in between the ring and the cell are these rabid, like vicious attack dogs. Except they're not rabid, they're not vicious, they're shitting all over the place, they're pissing all over the place, and they're fucking each other. They're not at all. They just grabbed a bunch of dogs from a vet, basically.
Okay. All right.
And so then he did that, and then not even a month later, he is mocking the Big Show's dad, who has cancer or is dying from cancer or died.
Man.
The whole, like, again, this is the 90s, right? Like. Yeah. And just an evil person. And then he goes. It's not enough for him to mock the Big Show and be like, "You're like if you were my son, I'd die too," type thing. He then goes to the funeral of the Big Show's dad in this Blues Brothers cop car with a giant megaphone, like the size of the car, strapped to the top of it. Like, you remember like the Flintstones when they get the Bronto burger and whatnot, and it's on top of the car. That's how big this megaphone is. And they go to this funeral, and he's just like reciting this like poetry mocking his dad dying, and then like the Big Show tries to get him. He runs over the Big Show with his car. Everybody checks on the Big Show. Big Show is also wearing an all leather outfit, leather jacket, leather shirt, leather pants. While everybody's checking on the Big Show, the Big Boss Man gets out, ties a chain around the casket, ties the other end of the chain to the bumper of his car, and he drives off with the casket.
Oh, it's great. And the last shot, the Big Show angrily running, and he dives on top of the casket and bounces off as the Boss Man drives off with his dad. The most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
And the best part.
All right, so how did the Mountie do then? How did the Mountie fare? Like, holy.
So the Mountie goes to jail, and he's in jail forever. No, he comes back in 1993, and he becomes a 3-time tag team champion as part of the Quebecers with Pierre Oulet. But
wow, that sounds like a way better ending.
Way better
story.
But holy, that's what I'm saying.
He may have lost the battle, but he
definitely
won the war, right? Today. Holy, let's go Canada! Canada!
Never went to be feeding a psychopath, basically.
That's crazy, man.
He really
won his dog. Holy.
Some could argue that the Mountie really helped the Big Boss Man realize the ambition in his plans. He has this successful gimmick match with the Mountie, and then they just progressively get weirder. It's great. I love that. And I think the Mountie didn't necessarily get off easy, but I mean, like, you saw the drunk and the lovely leather pants man in the jailhouse waiting to greet the Mountie. It was great.
Look, jail, when you go to jail, you have time to better yourself. You have time to turn your life around, ideally. And that's what the Mountie did. He said, you know what? I'm a really good pro wrestler. I'm just going to be a pro wrestler, really. I'm just going to be, I can't be a Mountie anymore. I went to jail. They're not going to let me, but I can still be a Quebecer.
Yeah.
It's true. Most people from Quebec have been to jail.
Yeah. So the Mountie's real name is Jacques Rougeau. And he's a family. His family. As a wrestler, his family is a kind of a big deal in Quebec, in Montreal. They are to the East Coast what like the Hearts were to the West Coast of Canada.
Okay.
A little bit. So like he's got a little bit of a lineage. The best part about this match for me was just the fact that Big Boss Man didn't do anything. He did 2 wrestling moves. Everything else was him just punching. It was just like, pop. I'm just going to pop you in the nose.
I don't know. Like, it's interesting because I think of things just growing up playing like the wrestling video games, and you like create your guy, but then you make your move set. So you select what your move set is. It's like a dumb thing, but like I think of like people with like certain move sets, and if I see somebody use something, I'm like, hey, that's over here. And some of the things the Boss Man did, it reminded me of like some of like the Undertaker's moves, where like, because I've seen him do it, where he bopped him and then he dropped on his back while the Mountie was bent over and hit him in the face while he was on the ground. That's like one of my favorite moves. But like, I believe it's the Undertaker that also does the same thing, where he'll catch you and then he drops down. He's like, and it's more of like an American badass thing. But it's like just a big, heavy wrestler. These are your move sets. Here you go.
Yeah, back then you didn't get to be like nowadays where you can have some variety. It's like no, you're 300 pounds. You're just gonna punch people. You're gonna punch people and you're gonna slam them on the ground. That's it. He caught the Mountie like full blown. The Mountie jumped off of the middle rope.
Yeah,
that was very impressive.
Very impressive. And then he's like,
"That's a heavy man, like one way or another." That's I mean, you saw how hard it was for him to like get him up, right? Like actually like flip him upside down.
Yeah, and then just like, all right, we're gonna slam him again. The pile driver when the Mountie pile drove the Big Boss Man, and he got up and he's like never seen somebody convulse like that.
No, I told you while we were watching it, I get concerned every time I see an old pile driver where they go flat like that, because my goodness, I can't believe they were doing that for as long as they were.
It's so like, especially the falling, especially like when like Stone Cold broke his neck on that type of move, because
he retired because of that.
Yeah, like it just because he was too far in the So the way it works is you're not supposed to be your head shouldn't be your head should be secure and not past like the thigh,
not protruding. Yeah.
Right. So when you fall back, when your opponent falls back, he lands on his ass. Your head is secure, and you're taking minimal damage. And then with Stone Cold, his head's poking out like a little turd, and you're like,
it was like a lot. Like you could see like the whole dome, and it fucked him up. They've done it. There's all sorts of people that have taken that bump, and it's like, do not. They used to do that move on chairs.
Yeah.
They would do it with a steel chair underneath it. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah. That's why like the tombstone became the one everybody wanted, to do. But the problem is the Undertaker did. That was his signature. And back then you didn't do other guys' signature. So like if you're going to do a pile driver, you're going to do the one where you sit back on your ass. You're not going to do a tombstone. And You know, it's like one of those, and like it's just wild to think about how like the respect aspect of pro wrestling, where like, or the decency, like, hey, that's that guy's move, you don't do it. You know, you got to help him. You know, it makes him look like shit if you do the move and you don't win. When like the logic should go the other way. It's like, yeah, you don't do that move because it doesn't, like, when he does that move, it wins because he knows how to do that move the best.
Right.
I think the craziest thing is, like you said, now that you mentioned that, there's a funny, well, not funny, but like it's a, you know, it plays right into what you're saying, is when they talk to Austin about taking that pile driver from Owen Hart, he talks about how they went through that night, like they were, because obviously before they talk, whoa, what's the deal? What are we going to do? Finish? What's going to happen here? And they didn't plan on doing the pile driver. And in fact, Austin said himself, he said, we got Undertaker on the card. It makes no sense for you to have your finish include that pile driver.
Yep.
And so it plays in what you said. Like, people were like, oh, no, that's this dude's move. That's like part of it. If you finish a match even in a similar way, you know, that doesn't play. And they didn't want to do that. So, you know, Austin knew, and he's like, I can't tell you why. And, you know, now, unfortunately, we can't ask him why. But for some reason, he just threw it in there. And then later that night in the main event, you had The Undertaker, who did the same move, except for, you know, he didn't almost paralyze a guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely part of the respect, though, is, you know, you don't go around doing that, and they know not to mess around with it. But I'm just glad they don't do that. Please.
Yeah. No, when he did it, like, your face is just like, oh, like, I was because I've watched it multiple times because I'm recording it and then I'm editing it down to where, you know, it's so I'm going through and watching it again. So now I'm watching your guys' reaction, and when you, Wheezy, saw the pile driver, like him going for the pile driver, and like they're doing the thing of like fighting it, like, okay, like it's fine. And then when he gets him up, you're like he kind of got like there was like a you know, like this could end, especially when you're 300 and some odd pounds, like it's a lot of weight coming down on your neck.
Big boss man.
Yeah, they don't call him much like they don't call Big Wheezy Little Wheezy. They don't call him Little Boss Man. He's Big Boss Man.
He's the big boss.
Cheese as a Canadian, you saw the Mountie's official Mountie getup. How close if you saw him on the street at Remembrance Day walking in front of a horse, you think he'd actually be a Mountie?
You mean a moose?
Yeah,
a moose, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, moose.
As part of the moose.
Yes.
It's important. You got to distinguish those two.
Yeah. Like he looked like you picked him straight out of Remembrance Day parade. Like,
yeah. No, pretty much. Yeah.
How disappointed were you that he did not wrestle in the full garb?
Well, I was giving him credit, right? I was like, oh man, he's walking in with the full getup. Like, I respect the hell out of that. That's gonna be like, he's going all in, right? Like he's putting in the 110% or whatever, right? But then of course, you know, he takes off the stuff. I get it, you know, it might rip and stuff, and you know, things are pretty hard to get here in Canada, considering, like, you know, people live at least 50 kilometers away from each other. So, you know, trade is a little bit difficult. You kind of send it by moose.
That's,
you know, one way.
What's that? Like 10 feet? You know?
Yeah, something like that. You know.
Yeah, they're really far.
Yeah.
We don't have roads up here in Canada. We just have trails.
This
it's just a toboggan.
Yeah, exactly. It's all way downhill. Yeah.
Everything is downhill. Somehow you go downhill, and to get home is back downhill. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Exactly.
You're like, wait a second. I came down the mountain from my house. Now I'm coming down the mountain from the store. Whatever.
It makes it. There's a lot of snow, and the Earth is curved, I think. You know, so it makes sense. Everything goes down all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. The Mountie was very aggressive to the police officers before. He was like, "You're gonna do it this way, and you're gonna do it my way." It's like,
if he would have just complied.
I will say he had a very American accent, though. Like,
I was disappointed.
Yeah, he didn't put on the Canadian accent. Like,
not enough.
People in Canada here have tons of different accents, right? But as soon as I saw him, I was like Mountie. As soon as I heard him, I was like American. Like he sounded the classical, like, pro wrestling. Again, they were brothers. They could have yelled at each other in the same like tone, and you just would have been, who's talking?
Close your eyes. You don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was a little not disappointing. That just. I also get it too because he's on American TV. He wants to be have people root for him and stuff. But I get it for sure. But I wish he played a little bit more into the Canadian side. I like the cattle prod. That was sweet. Actually, I wish there was a little bit more of the cattle prod versus the baton. I'm surprised there wasn't
a lightsaber.
More. I don't know. Like, okay, Canada has the cattle prod. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it would have been.
And they both kind of had the same style. They both had the like. They're quick to get on and off the stage, but as soon as they're on their feet, they're like lumbering slow. They both had the exact same walk like that. You know what I mean? Like they're top heavy, and they're just like boom, boom. Yeah.
They were twin brothers. It's like we need the Parent Trap too, but this time it's Big Boss Man and the Mountie. It's fun. It's funny because he didn't have a very strong Canadian accent, especially not a Quebec.
Yeah.
Talk to enough Canadians, you can go, okay, you're from Nova Scotia, you're from Vancouver. Okay. No, he does sound very close to me. He's from all right, hold on. Sulpice? Sulpice? Like I'm trying to figure out like the French Saint Sulpice?
Saint Sulpice?
Sulpice, yes, Sulpice. Yes, Sulpice. That's where he's from.
Quebec.
Quebec.
Quebec. Yeah. Saint Sulpice, Quebec.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know where that is.
That is, it is.
I mean, Quebec's pretty big.
Yeah,
Quebec's
part of the L'Assomption Regional County Municipality. It's located on the north shore of the St. Lawrence River.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, couldn't tell you.
No. Like I said, cheese might. That's about it though. Like I don't know. Like I was just like, yeah.
Canada's a big place. That's all good. That's all
very
good.
Big. Yeah. There's in the 2021 Canadian census, there was 3,360 people there, which was down. From,
that's half the That's half the population of Quebec right there.
Oh wow.
Yeah. No. I'm just like sitting here like, yeah, no, okay. Like it's their Wikipedia page for Saint Sulpice is not very deep.
Oh boy.
No, it's not like Manassas, Virginia, where I was like, yeah, that's where every it's either evil people or athletes come from.
Is that where Big Boss Man was from?
No, he's from Cobb County, Georgia, which it doesn't turn out the greatest of people, but
Yeah, someone who feeds someone else their dog. I can't get over that, man. Like, I'm surprised they made that a thing. Like, that's pretty rough, man. That's pretty rough, dude.
All sorts of crazy storylines. There was a man who got his pee-pee almost chopped off.
That's why we started talking about Manassas, Virginia, because Val Venus got his pee-pee almost cut off, and then they brought out the guy who basically inspired the story. I forget the fucking guy's name.
Oh, it was the Bobert.
Yeah. John Wayne Bobbert.
Yeah, Bobbert. There you go. John Wayne Bobbert. Yeah.
Or Bobbitt, sorry. Yeah, John Wayne Bobbitt.
Bobbitt.
Lauren Bobbitt and John Wayne Bobbitt.
There you go.
Basically, John Wayne Bobbitt abused his wife, and then got caught cheating, and she cut off his dick, and then basically stole it. Like, she cut it off and then left the house, and then she threw it into the fucking woods, and then she felt bad and called the cops. And everybody was like, she's the bad one. It's like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, like, maybe not. And
different time, man. Different time.
So, like...
And they made a storyline out of it.
Yeah, they made a storyline of how Val Venus, whose entire character is that he's a porn star, was caught in the shower with another man's wife. The other man's... The man, Yamaguchi-san, came out with a butcher's table and different cuts of tubular meat, like sausage and whatnot, and a katana. And he said... Basically, Val Venus, we wrestle you next week, and when you lose, choppy your pee-pee, and then he fucking just cuts a piece of the sausage in half with the sword. And then they wrestle him the guy, his tag team partner, turns on him because turns out the woman that he was caught in the shower with was his tag team partner's sister. And yeah, so they were all working together, and they basically like cuffed him, hung him up on like a meat hook, and dropped his drawers, and then this is how they ended the episode of Monday Night Raw. By the way, is a man butt ass naked, his ass facing the camera, and a small man with a katana like coming down to chop his dick.
And
that's Raw right there. That's for sure.
And the sister was inconsolable. She said no. She's just crying.
She's very upset. Yes.
Oh, it was great, but yes, it was awesome. And then
again, the spectacle of cheese.
No, for sure, I get it.
Yeah, man. There's the Brian Pillman's got a gun one.
That's wild.
That one was
Stone Cold.
That one was wild.
Stone Cold breaks into, or says he's going to go to where Brian Pillman lives and whoop his ass in front of his wife and kids, and they're like interviewing Brian Pillman there, and Brian Pillman's like, let him come. He's got Austin 316. I got Pillman 9mm. They said, I'll pump you full of lead. Like, everyone's like, whoa, he's got a gun. And they cut to a commercial on Brian Pillman with a gun. It fades to black, and you hear the gun go off. And they're like, no one got shot. Stone Cold left. The cops are here. Meanwhile, Stone Cold drowned a man in a kiddie pool, like the plastic kiddie pools, and smashed another man's head into a car door.
Oh, yeah. It was very intense.
Very intense, yeah. Some of this stuff is incredible television. Some of this stuff is just like, again, a man fed another man's dog to him. So, like, what are we doing? There was a pimp character who just would offer his opponents, hey man, you want these girls? Like, you give me the win, you can have these.
I'm not gonna fight you, but I'll be some of the finest hoes.
Yeah, and then he would fight you, but when you're like, no, I don't want I want to fight. All right, then let it be. Like, I'll fight you. Yeah, wild stuff. The Lawless Land, the spectacle of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Oh, it's.
And this is before this
great.
time. This is just, hey man, like American cop versus Canada cop. Like, who wins? Obviously the American cop, you know.
Yeah.
But just absolutely.
What would have happened if the Canadian did win there? What if the Mountie won there? That would have been that would have stirred some shit.
Oh, there would have been some trash in the ring. Folks would have been upset.
Oh, absolutely. The Mountie's not making it out of it alive.
No.
If he would have won, I guarantee you somebody would have rushed the ring, started fighting him. That cattle prod that's definitely a cattle prod and not just a stick with, colored tape on it. Yeah, he would have been, because like, man, like the people loved Big Boss Man. He, again, Cheese, you pointed out that he just kept going, like, and Wheezy he's got one gear and it's go. In his promos.
He was ready. Very.
He the way he talked reminded me of the kid from the wife swap, where he's like, "Yeah, she thinks she's so. I'm walking. I can't have chicken.
I'm packing up. I'm out of here."
Yeah, that kid. You can't take away my chicken nuggets. That's what the Big Boss Man sounds like to me.
I think it's funny because, this is like it's like 91. So it's just the like hangover of the 80s. Mm-hmm. And so it's funny because like she's like, as you get into like, like wrestling now, I don't know that, people have like real names, like not like it's their real name, but it's like an actual like name. Like, oh, hey, my name is Shawn Michaels, like you have like a cool name, like it's a regular name. But for most of like, like in the 80s and early 90s, it was, yes, your profession is your name or like you're something. And the only one of those that like successfully continued was literally The Undertaker, which is very funny to me because it's like a mortician is just a mortician. Like that's his, and everybody's afraid of this man. He's just and it's literally like 2005 and they're like The Undertaker and everyone's like and it's like the only one that hangs over, because if you had the Mountie in 2005, people are like, oh, all right, where's his moose? Like, it's just not, it just doesn't work the same. Or like they'd have people where it was like the Honky Tonk Man. That's hilarious. That's a funny name. Like that's just his whole thing. And he was basically like an Elvis impersonator. Or like, but that's like their stuff. And so like when you say like what would happen if like the Mountie would have won, like the whole point is like, you know, they did that with like the Iron Sheik. Like he really brought heat because he was the, you know, the foreigner, and that was his whole thing. And so like you have these guys win, and or like just to build up to it, and like that's why like the pre-build was, oh, the Mountie beat him and tased him, and it got everybody riled up for the match. And then the conclusion is, well, now the good guy American just closed this out, and he gets tossed in the thing, which is, it's a funny device. You know, it's easy to get people to hate this guy because he's just like not from here.
It's so like nowadays it doesn't play at all because wrestling is such a global experience. Like you're like, you know, I got friends from this place. Why would I hate the Canadian guy just because he's Canadian? Like that's dumb. But like they try it sometimes with like, oh hey, this is bad guy, and his gimmick is he's not from America, and it's like, dog, I wish I wasn't from America. Like you know, it doesn't work as much when the place you're trying to say is better is objectively not better. Like
no, or like so this is how I like how it's evolved, because it went from like in the earlier days, like Arn Anderson and like Ole Anderson, like they would just give people Anderson as the last name just so they'd bring you in and be like, yep, that's his brother, and that's just how it worked. Like that's your gimmick.
Yeah.
Or like Hulk Hogan, they were like, all right, what's your name? And he's like, Terry, and they're like, sorry, not gonna work. We'll give you Hulk. And then the promoter was like, I believe it was just Vince's dad. Vince Senior. He was like, we'll give you Hogan because then it sounds Irish, and then you'll have Irish fans. There you go. Yeah. And that was how they gave him his name. It was, oh yeah, the Irish folks will love you. Here you go. Now they've got somebody to cheer for. And it's like, that's what your stuff was based on. But now it's like, yeah, you got kind of like a universal feel. It's a better character, and then your name is, you know, picked out, you know, better than
well,
just, hey.
That is true. There are some times where there's like, what are we doing here? That they were like, let's give the Austrian guy Gunther, and then let's make his German sidekick like Ludwig Kaiser, and then somebody's like, wait a second, like. The quick Google search. Wait, that's a Nazi general. Like Ludwig Kaiser is a real name of somebody. And like, shit. Like it's you get to a point where you're like, we went too far the other way.
Yeah.
No, but one of my favorite, like the Undertaker's great IRS, Erwin R. Shyster. Yeah. Like he's just a tax guy. He's a tax attorney.
He's just the tax guy.
IRS.
Yeah.
He's just IRS. Like what?
Everybody hates the IRS, so we'll just make a character named IRS.
It's true.
What was it? So when they were coming up with so this is something I learned, but when they were naming the $1 Million Man's right-hand man Virgil, it was a dig at Dusty Rhodes because he was at WCW. I had no idea that was a thing because his name was Virgil, and they were like, "Yeah, you're just you're just my servant, basically."
Yeah.
I found that out like 2 weeks ago. I was like, "That's ridiculous."
And then,
but
Virgil went to WCW, and they named him Vincent as a dig to Vince McMahon.
Oh wow!
Which is also funny because IRS went from being IRS to VK Wall Street. Because they're like, Vince thinks he's like a Wall Street guy. VK Wall Street, Vincent Kennedy Wall Street.
Oh God, see, and stuff like that's funny. It's like, you know, you think, oh yeah, it's just the pettiness of this, but then you also end up with the oh God, what was the thing? It was Billy Gunn and Road Dogg and TNA, and they were the
VKM, the Voodoo Kid Mafia.
Yeah,
because they're like, we're gonna make it a shot at Vincent Kennedy McMahon, and it's, well, what the fuck is VKM gonna stand for? I don't know. Voodoo Kid Mafia. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like random, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, people taking digs, and
That
you know,
makes no sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. Stupid.
Very stupid.
I feel like a modern day version of that is like someone called the crypto bro.
Yeah, that would be a great. That'd be a great like.
Or the NFT or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, like something dumb.
The NFT. Oh my god, there needs
Plays.
dog. Because there was
and it goes with the crash too. As soon as like the crypto crash happens, they literally play it out where he like crashes and like blows up on stage or something like that. Would be so funny.
He's just ready for it.
They had a character. So there's a wrestler by the name of Cameron Grimes who got into stock. Who was into stock market. Like he made a lot of money off of like the GameStop stuff going on, the AMC trading and whatnot. And then he got into NFTs a little bit. But his character was like, hey man, I'm making a lot of money off of these stocks. I'm going to the, like he incorporated it into his character of saying
to the moon.
Exactly.
To the moon. Oh my god.
And it got over, and then he just kind of disappeared when NFTs kind of started crapping, which is very funny that you're like, hey, like he crashed, and it's like, yeah, it's very funny.
I know, but like you could do that, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That, again, as a content creator, that's kind of how you do it. You create some entertainment, topical stuff, whatever it is. And it's funny you mentioning it because it's like the what is it? The identity of a lot of these pro wrestlers before were like the exotic part was their job, right? Like or where they're from, right?
Yeah.
But like now in a world where you have the internet and everything and everybody's interconnected, right? It's funny to find where you can find that individuality or that unique thing to really bring yourself out and make yourself known, right? Because it is. It's like, oh yeah, this guy's not from around here, and this guy's not from the U.S. Get him out of here, right?
Yeah, back then you're like, oh boo, I don't like him.
If I'd like to think if like the Warrior was like a wrestler today and kept it, like, he would just be like the Liver King online.
Oh, the Liver dude, he needs to be a pro wrestler at this point.
He'd just be just...
that's his whole gimmick. It's like, oh, I'm the...
It's funny you say that, but no, that's true. Like, if you've ever heard this guy talk about like how he got started, you can see the pro wrestling influence in what he is. Yeah. And he sells that. He sells the idea of like being that person, you know, like live my lifestyle, that kind of thing. And he's gotten insanely successful off of like a lie, right? Like off of just a persona. And that's a lot of it you can clearly see comes from that pro wrestling scene where a lot of that groundwork has already happened. Yeah. And it worked and it blew up, right? But of course, nowadays you have to be like real, right?
Yeah.
You can't just be the persona. So that bit him in the butt. But I mean, like when I looked at him, I was like, it was very obvious. But of course,
yeah, exactly. You know. Like if you're just smart smart in general, you're like, no way this guy is actually doing this. Like he would not be living. Like it's impossible to live off of raw meat 100%. Okay, and then like he's like, no, I'm definitely doing it. I'm definitely look, and it's like, yeah, but okay, cool. You took a piece off of that liver.
But even just like looking at his body, you're like, there's no way you do that naturally,
and
right? Like that's just not a thing.
He has a one vegetable meal, and you're like, oh, he betrayed us. Oh, it's like, dude, you're a fucking like you fell for it. You dummy. You're a mark. Why are you
buy into it?
It's just so funny. Which it's like, you know, the parasocial relationship as well. Like, but going back to like content creators, like Liver King, somebody like I always go to talk about is like Cardboard Cowboy on Twitch.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Gimmick, like he's not actually a cardboard like a cowboy made out of cardboard. He's a streamer who found a unique way to present himself to the point where it's so unique that other people are like, I'm not even gonna try that because I can't recreate that. And that's how you know, like, really good people, really talented. Like, all right, yeah, that's why I'm coming up with like a creative idea. There we go. That's no one's gonna come up with this, you know.
Or like what, Dr. Disrespect, is that it?
Yeah, he's still.
Yeah.
That's like a whole like gimmick.
Oh, it's 100%. The wrestling,
like,
the wrestling.
You got a whole outfit and everything.
Yeah. Absolutely. But then you see people buying into it, like that's who he is, and it's like, I mean, No, clearly not. I mean, like you can't be.
I mean, you must have that as well with pro wrestlers.
Yeah,
though,
oh,
like
yeah,
in the
absolutely.
fandom and stuff. I'm sure you must have people that like actually think that's the person to a T,
Yes.
and like that parasocial relationship. That's the word that gets
Yeah.
that
I
people
would
are coming
say
to terms with now.
it's
But yeah, I'm sure that's happened.
I would say it's potentially worse than pro wrestling because these are people who are on TV. Like being a big time streamer is very much the reach is out there, but you're still a big fish in a small pond. Like these are people who are on television where you're like Monday at 9, I turn on the USA Network or I turn on the Canadian equivalent, whatever. I think it's I don't
Moose
think,
Tube.
Moose Tube. I don't think they're on TSN. They might be on TSN now, but like okay, I'm watching on this or that, watching that, and it's like I'm watching this person as I'm going to sleep, or this is my like nighttime routine, and then you're like, this person is unobtainable, and then the second that you can get to them, they have to be on that. They have to be the person that you think they are on television because this is a special moment for you, but for them, it's just hey man, everybody.
It's their job.
Yeah,
it literally is like their job, So yeah, for sure.
That's why I'm always like, yeah, like when it comes to like content creation, I'm like, yeah, there's part of me that's like wants to just be myself because it's easy, and then there's part of me that's like, man, I don't want to be myself all the time, and then like people expect me to like.
They had it was a story they were talking. It was Roddy Piper, or no, it was Undertaker. It was Undertaker talking when Ultimate Warrior changed his name to Warrior.
Oh yeah,
and you made a comment about all the airbrush, like with Jimmy Hart and everything. But I think Warrior was like, he was one of the biggest offenders of the airbrush, right? And the problem with
a cowboy duster and fucking airbrush,
right? Huge. Okay, so he had changed his name to Warrior, and the thing was, is all of his clothes had the airbrush stuff on it. He just didn't have regular clothes. So, you got the Undertaker, mid 90s, and he can just throw on a hat and like
black
roll
clothes,
into his spot, and then people be like, "Oh, like it's just whatever." You got this dude walking around with airbrushed freaking Ultimate Warrior shit. He's wearing the duster with the stuff, and he's trying
Great branding, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, bites you in the ass for sure.
He's gotta always be on because like there's no way like people even look past that. You're like, that's him.
Yeah,
he's always there. And so Undertaker's telling this story where he's like, yeah, we're at the airport and it's been like traveling for like 2 days, and we're taking and getting our flight, and it's early, and all of us are angry, just like tired, ready to get going. And some kid comes up and is like, "Oh, you're the Ultimate Warrior. Can you sign this?" And he just freaks out. And he's just like, "No, leave me there for long. Get out of here, kid. What are you doing?" And the kid's mom comes over, like apologizes. And the Undertaker's like, "Dude, you can't do that. Like, what are you doing?" And he's just like, "This is the worst." And he's like, "You're the one who changed the game. You're in these clothes, dude. What are you doing?"
My brother in Christ, you airbrushed your entire name onto every piece of clothing. What did you expect?
He's like, in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have paid the airbrush guy so much. Jesus Christ.
Like, oh my God. That's
funny.
It's very funny. Like the idea, like, hey man,
poor kid, man. Poor kid. He's gonna be scarred for life, honestly. He probably became a priest after that,
he's secluded from the world. He's like, I'm just gonna read. I'm gonna read the Old Testament.
Yeah, he's a monk.
I'm good.
Yeah. That'd be like getting mad at somebody for asking for ice cream when you have a sign on you that says free ice cream, just ask. Like, what are you
What are you talking about?
Although part of me wants me to do that for a bit and is just dress up as if I am like Sami Zayn works or Kevin Owens. Like, just be like, yeah, no, like, just wear their wrestling gear out in public to see if people are like, oh my God, it's Kevin Owens. And it's like, yeah, I'm Kevin Owens, guy. Yep, that's me.
Let me get out of here. Oh my God.
Not even to like make a profit off of it. Just like, yeah, no, I'm Kevin Owens. Be nice and be like, yeah, no, yeah, keep it up, kid. Like,
yeah, you got it.
Just to fuck with people.
Oh boy.
But Wheezy,
What's up?
Final thoughts on anything we didn't cover? You want anything to mention about the Mountie and the Big Boss Man? We talked a little bit about him going to jail. We talked about the match. Anything else that is on your mind from coming? Last impression, I would say.
I think I will forever remember just how ridiculous the Boss Man looked with his shirt just slowly getting more unbuttoned as the match went on. He lost a button, and for every button he lost, he gained another gallon of sweat. So very
Dude, he was so sweaty even before the match, right? He was shouting, and I was looking at it. I was like, dude, this guy's drenched already.
He's just drenched. It's got to be a full cotton shirt. I know it's breathable, but he was just down. So I will forever remember the Boss Man in his glory, winning against the Mountie, shirt just completely unbuttoned.
The deepest of V's.
2 shades darker because it's covered in sweat. Just a great time.
He went in with a sky blue, came out with a deep turquoise.
Deep.
It's like if you go back and we rewatch it frame by frame, you can actually see his hand going in there, unbuttoning them, like in between the moves.
Oh
right?
boy. He just clothesline me. Gotta lose another.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Kurt Angle would drop the straps anytime he wore like a wrestling singlet. So whenever it was time for him to like go into overdrive, he would drop the arms, and then he would just have they would just be dangling. And but instead of that, it's like, all right, hold on, time to crank it up a little bit, time to undo. Yeah. He's like me at a wedding, really. Like I go to a wedding, I got this all the way long sleeve dress shirt all the way down to the wrist. It's buttoned up all tight. By the time the second song is playing, I got them rolled up. The top button's undone. Maybe the second one's done a little bit. The tie's coming loose. He's just like me, He's just like me.
Yeah.
Cheese, what about you? Lasting impression from the Big Boss Man versus the Mountie?
They're brothers, I'm calling it. I don't know, that's it, man. Yeah. They're brothers. And yeah, I wish he had a little bit more of a Canadian accent, but other than that, it was fun. It was a good match.
It was good times. Good times. I'm glad I got this one done. This is actually, I believe this episode will drop on what would have been Big Boss Man's birthday. He passed away in I think 2004.
R.I.P. the Boss Man.
R.I.P. the Boss Man. I think
he had too many buttons undone.
Too many.
He did one too many undone.
Again, I just like the idea of pause it and wait a second, what's he doing? Oh wait,
yeah,
he's undoing his buttons. But thank you, Cheese. Tell the people where they can find you, what you got working on, anything you would like to be plugging away.
Well, first of all, it was great to meet BigWheezy, brother man. It was nice getting some stories. Grumm Bumbly, as always, brother man. Go follow this guy up. Go sub to his Patreon. Go give him some love. Honestly, this guy is one of the hardest working content creators that I've known for a long ass time. Been able to share some brewskis and stuff with. And thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it a lot. Yeah.
So that's Cheesewiz on Twitter. This is why I like, because I tell hey, Cheese, plug your stuff, and then
I don't know, man. Yo, I'm here with some friends. That's what I'm here for. But yeah, I've okay. If I could plug one thing, I'm on a streak right now with Soon TM. So it's a website. It's a calendar for gaming. Surprisingly, there's no great way to keep track of upcoming games. So me and a friend have been trying to make this website a passion project for the last 5 years. But the thing I'd love to plug is we're on a streak of about 45 days of uploads to our YouTube channel for the Soon TM YouTube channel. We just started up. We hit over 1,000 subscribers in a month, which was crazy. And I'm just really happy and really proud of myself, actually. It's been something I wanted to do for a long time. And we're 45 days in a row, posting every single day.
That's right. I love them. I love each one of them. You got top cozy games coming out. You get scary games. You got games of the month. What to look
before this
to.
podcast, I was 7 hours into editing a video. So
there you go.
That's what I was doing.
Good stuff. And then so that's Soon TM, SOONTM. That is. Also
when's that game coming out?
Soon.
All right. Enough plugging me.
At Soon TM, you can find them on Twitter as well. Soon TM site on Twitter. Soon TM YouTube. And it's just good stuff. Good stuff. Cheesewiz on
Appreciate it,
twitch.tv/Cheesewiz. I know it's all. I know Cheese gets uncomfortable when people start plugging his stuff, so I will stop doing that.
I'm starting to get red, man.
A little bit, yeah. Hot under the collar, hot under the collar. Great vibes. Good fun time. Go check out Cheese. Soon TM also has a Patreon as well. You can go check that out. Help that site grow.
Only after you hit up Grumm. That's right here.
Only after you hit up me. Give me $1. Give Cheese $5. There we go. Wheezy, where can the people find you? Anything you would like to bring awareness to, raise, promote, all that good stuff? The floor is yours.
Before I start, I'd like a word from our sponsor, website Soon TM. If you have any upcoming video games, I know the guy who runs it. It's a pretty great website. Check it out. Soon TM. Now,
that's good.
I was
not expecting that.
I was not expecting
that.
It's been a great time. Honestly, it's been a pleasure coming back. You can find me on Twitter, Wheezy Runner. If you're in the Orlando area, might see me doing stand up. I don't know. I've been on and off flirting with it. So
that's
there's
awesome.
that. Obviously do hit up Grumm, give your money to Grumm. I said it earlier. Subscribe, like, follow the Patreon, pay to the Patreon. All your money, love to Grumm.
Appreciate that.
I got nothing else.
Back-to-back weeks of pitting Canada against America, and back-to-back weeks with people who have done stand-up comedy. We did Cornman last week.
Nice.
We had Wheezy this week.
Love that.
Keep up the good work, Wheezy. The comedy is good. It's the good stuff. Maybe you know what? I'll put in a good word with the people up this way and be like, look, there's a nice comedian. He's in Orlando. Goes by BigWheezy, Wheezy XL. Go check him out. Here's his stuff.
Him out.
You know?
Check his stuff.
Yeah.
No, that'd be great. I also want to say for those interested, I know that the fan base are all some are wrestling fans, some are also, but the preview for the new Dark Side of the Ring. I saw that releases at the end of this next month at May 30th. So they're going to have 10 new episodes. I'm very excited for that. They did not pay me to promote this.
No, they didn't.
I promise.
Because they'd be paying me to promote it.
Grumm paid me to promote him. So
yeah, and I paid Cheese to promote me.
That's why. Is that
exposure? No, I paid you. You paid me. We're giving each other exposure. You know, the ultimate
feeds the children.
The ultimate payment, exposure. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. I love you guys.
I love you too, Grumm.
Thanks for having us, man.
Hell yeah. I'll have you guys on soon.
Soon.
Soon TM. Thank you, Wheezy. Thank you, Cheesewiz. I nailed it that time. Thank you, listener, watcher. If you're on the YouTube, like and subscribe. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel. As you know, I'll have more stuff coming in the coming months. I want to do a draft league idea with like a weekly recap. Well, I don't know. I'm working that out with some people. But anyways, thank you. Next week's episode is episode 89. It is a good one. It is myself. It is Diabito, who you can see or you can watch along with Diabito on the Patreon, support.grumm.tv. This week's exclusive watch along goes up. It is the Good Housekeeping match from episode 68, which you can find here on the YouTube as well, or in the feed earlier, the full episode. Get their full reaction afterwards, after you watch it with them on the Patreon, support.grumm.tv. That's at the elite of the elite tier. I appreciate our elite tier, not the elite of the elite tier. It's also at the elite, but just Llama Club Elite. I appreciate that. But also returning for their second appearance, Soapy comes back. It's been quite a while, about 70 some odd episodes, but we got Soapy back on. We're talking about the time little nature boy Charles Robinson took on Gorgeous George. No, if you're a wrestling fan who the name Gorgeous George strikes a memory, not the old-timey Gorgeous George who died before Charles Robinson was even born, if I recall correctly. No. In 1998, I believe, Randy Savage bought the name right to Gorgeous George so that his then girlfriend at the time could get into wrestling with the name Gorgeous George. And they had themselves a match between Gorgeous George and Little Nate. It's certainly a match. I think Bito says it's certainly a match. A match for history. One of the matches of history. But it's a fun episode. Come by next week. We'll be doing that. If you are inclined to as well, leave a 5-star review on your podcasting platform that you're listening to now, if it's Apple or Spotify, or check to see if your podcasting app platform likes to have a 5-star review. Do that, or whatever it is. Rate us, review us. I appreciate that. It helps us grow. Twitter at Dorkside Ring on Twitter and Instagram. Dorkside of the Ring on TikTok as well. I'll have those shorts coming this week. And that's it. I think that's it. I don't got anything else, right? Oh, I'm me. I am Grumm. That's my personal Twitter and personal Instagram. You can find me there. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. I will see you next week, as always, where we will continue to not take wrestling serious, because wrestling is at its best when no one is taking it serious. I am Grumm. I will see you next week here on the Dork Side of the Ring podcast.